The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
You know, I don't really care how you know this track. If you know it as Interlagos, if you know it as Sao Paulo, and if you just know it as Brazil. The track has the same action any way that you have it. There's great runs down the long straightaway, there's the amazing Senna S's, and then there's a twisty third sector that can prove extremely challenging. With a lap time that is extremely quick in any car you're in, for a track the limited size that it is, this is a track that produces great racing week over week, time and time again. Anytime you are here, and I absolutely enjoy it, no matter where we're at. Welcome everybody here to Elbows Out Racing League, and this is going to be I think the most challenging round, I would say, if we talk about traffic, which is something that we talk about quite a bit here. So I'm curious to see how this ends. It's going to be Brad Dalton, myself here in the booth, and of course I am joined by Andre, as always. Andre, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Doing pretty good, and this is going to be an interesting race. You know, you mentioned the traffic, and it's interesting to me because I think back-to-back, we're going to two different tracks that are kind of the antithesis of one another. Last week, we were at Le Mans, and we had very long lap times, which meant very little traffic for these guys to deal with. Now we're going to one of the shortest tracks on the schedule for the season, with some of the quickest lap times, just over a minute for the GTPs, so a little over 50 laps tonight. There's going to be more traffic than anywhere else, back-to-back.
Yeah, this is going to be a wild time to watch, but I'm really excited to see how it goes. Currently on screen, you have got one Michael Odell, who is now up in the GT3 Pro category this week, who is trying to put in some laps, and we'll see how he does going around, because I think this is going to be a fun one for him in the Audi. Of course, Michael Odell showed up last week and had a great run and had a great time, all things considered. So that pit lane entry, we'll talk about that a bit more through the race, but it is a tricky little pit lane entry, but if you do it just right, you can do fine with it. And then, of course, these great Senna S's down the hill through turn 1, through turn 2, and then out through turn 3. And then from there, well, things just get exciting is the best way I can say it. Things get pretty crazy, pretty fast, depending on how you feel here as we ride on board with Michael Odell all the way down. This is a spot where I've been a car once or twice, but then you just watch the curves to the inside, mind the run to the outside, carry just enough speed, and then keep things going. No weather expected on the night as they go, and everyone's going to be pretty happy with no weather.
Yeah, I mean, everybody but us up in the booth. Up in the booth, we love a good rain race. They're always the most entertaining, but as a driver, yeah, you're looking for the clear skies. You're looking for the conditions we have today. Relatively cool track camp, for where we are in the world, but it's going to make the cars pretty drivable, and these guys can focus more on racing amongst themselves rather than racing the conditions.
Yeah, and as qualifying is over, of course, we got through our 10 minutes of qualifying, and now it's time to grid it up. If you're unfamiliar with Elbows Out, well, 60 minutes of racing is about to come your way, and if this is your first time watching Elbows Out, they're one of my personal favorite leagues that we have, but that's just because I'm a road racer at heart. So make sure you like and subscribe. We're on our way to 1,700 subscribers. I think we're at about 1,640 last I checked, so just need a little bit of help to get there. But let's go through this PTR TV starting lineup on the day, and we'll start it out with the GTPs. As they stand, it was Antonio Costa on pole with Aiden Garcia in second place. From there, it was P3 of Matt Toppin and Zachary Nerney, and then Ben Bechtel in fifth. Sixth place was Dwight Hibbs, and seventh place was Bob Carey. GT3 Pro, how it stands here? Well, Andre, I tell you what, you got Jean McCullen up in the 992 in pole with Paul Nye Sr. in second place, no surprise there, and then Ethan Murphin in third. Callan Tobin up in fourth, Martin Merkva in fifth, Daniel Panera in P number 6. Daniel Panera. We'll see if he can get some mac and cheese or maybe a good bagel on the day. Tyler Stenick there in P7. Michael Odell in 8th place. Chris Stewart in 9th. And Brian Metterly in P10. Of course, remember, if they won last week, if they're on the podium last week, they couldn't qualify. That tends to shake things up here. Christopher Ondera in first, Parker Chiapuzzo in P2, Shea Perkins P3, Nathan Hemperly P4 in your GT3 AM category. Kyle O'Grady in fifth, Seth Vosselman in sixth, and then Christian Cardona. We've got a light GT3 AM field here this week, so interesting to see that has settled in. We usually have a heavy GT3 field, and this week it is a little bit lighter. Only 24 cars are going to be taking on this 60 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a lighter field than we're normally used to seeing. But again, with the quicker lap times, I think you're barely going to notice that because there is going to be so much going on all across this racing surface. But we are rolling behind the pace car, and we are not far off the beginning of this night here in Brazil. And it is going to be a fun one for sure. The GTPs, of course, separated as they are week to week from the GT3s. Just a little bit of buffer between them. And yeah, we will see a lot of storylines. Curious to see, especially in the GT3 division, Paul Nye's rally to a podium last week, up to third from nearly last place, was the story of the day. Qualifying up front again tonight. Let's see if he can double down on a podium.
Yeah, Paul Nye the donut guy looking to be Paul Nye the winning guy when it's all said and done. But as we go behind the BMW safety car here around Interlagos, going through this short formation lap, well, we can already see that the PlayStation car of Dwight Hibbs is making like a PS1 and trying to fall out of my life as soon as that PS2 came into my life. So we'll see how that goes. GTPs, of course, with cold tires should be interesting. And I thought that was a Baja Blast car, but that's a Brisk Iced Tea car. So as they get ready to go around, it's going to be interesting. Antonio Costa. Tell you what, it'd be exciting to see Antonio win here. But as always, Aiden Garcia, Matt Toppin, and Zachary Nerney here top four. Ben Bechtel would love to have a run, and Bob Carey is going to be feeling good. We come down the main straight here, and this is going to be setting us up for 60 minutes of action. We take the pull off there from the BMW safety car, and it's going to be Costa getting us underway here. Aiden Garcia in second place with a poor takeoff. Everybody gets through, and you see behind him in the background the GT3s already down to a run. They're going to be exciting turn one to watch as they go through. All of the GTPs make it through turn one without issues. GT3s following just the same, and now it's through turn two where things can get interesting. A little bit of side-by-side there by Ondera and Murphy as they get going, and this is going to kick off our 60 minutes of action very quickly.
I'm seeing smoke. I don't know if somebody went off the track, maybe kicked up a little bit of dust, but I'm seeing some smoke. I don't see a car or the cause of it, so I would assume just somebody... Oh, boy. A little bit sideways is going to be that purple GTP. And number 31 machine.
Zach Nerney being the cause of that one.
We got up in that as well.
Yeah, we'll get a replay of that here momentarily. Meanwhile, check it back in up front. We'll get through the first lap, and then we'll go back and catch a replay of lap one. Antonio Costa here holding on to the lead with Matt Toppin in the Cadillac in second place. Love seeing the Cadillac running well. And then, of course, in GT3s, it's Jean McLuhan there with Paul Nye, Christopher Ondera in third, trying to hold off a fury of Porsches behind. The Porsche seems to get a lot of love here in Elbows Out. along with the Mustang. From there, Ethan Murphy, Shea Perkins, and then Callan Tobin trying to hold off Tyler Stenick, the very, very fast Mustang driver in the Pro Mustang. And we'll see how that goes through the evening.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something. Zachary Nerney, this is yet another down, and just kind of waiting for the up, because I'm sure he'll make a bit of a comeback. Car didn't seem too damaged. Let's see what his progress is throughout the night. There is another incident. I don't believe we're looking at a replay.
Perkins going around. This is live pictures. So Shea Perkins going around. I mean, great paint scheme on a Porsche, but got to get that Porsche to keep going straight if you want to see anything with that. Mustangs are side by side up here. Callan Tobin going through with Tyler Stenick going around. The 32 there of Martin Merkfoot to the outside. The 26 of Ethan Murphy on the outside. Interlagos, not a track you usually see side by side racing at, but doggone it, these guys are giving it to us today.
Yeah, they really are. And I expected it. Like I said, this track tends to provide it. Going to be a lot of action all through the night, as long as the incidents continue to be minor and they don't damage themselves out of the race. It's going to be quite a show, that is for certain. I do want to point out as well, going back to lap 1 when we had that incident, the league is, allergies are kicking in, never good. The league is more heavily scrutinizing lap 1 and especially turn 1, lap 1 incidents because they felt that they were growing in number. It seemed like they were getting more of them than they used to. So the penalties will be a little bit more heavy-handed. Just something to keep in mind for some of the drivers involved in those. If you're watching on TV next week, you might see some penalties pop up. That will be for the side. And I just got to say, I can appreciate that about a league. Taking the racecraft seriously and really looking things over. These stewards in this league, they got a lot of work cut out for them. They're watching 3 different series. They got a lot of incidents to overlook, but they do a really good job at what they do, and makes the racing good. That's how we get these side-by-side battles, because for the most part, these guys have respect, and they're able to get it done.
Yeah, it's always great to see how Elbows Out handles things, because I will say this league, in terms of the stewarding and in terms of kind of how they want to present themselves, I would say that, they do an amazing job of it. And of course, they've been great partners here to the channel since we've joined in for this 2025 season 2. And we kicked it off, of course, with Spa for the season finale of last season. All right, seems like things have kind of taken a second here. Couple of housekeeping things to address. New kind of look there to the side is Matt Toppin has decided to take things off-road here. Maybe not ideal for him, but that is where he's at currently. We'll find out what happened to him momentarily. I think as things are starting to breathe through, this might be a good time, Andre, to go back in. Let's see if we can get a lap 1 replay of what happened here with everyone up front and see if we can't get a good idea of where everything started. So this is going to be turn 1, lap 1. This is Daniel Pinero, Michael Odell, Seth Fosselman, and it's the 56. Just absolutely sending it there. Let's get another quick jump there for that 56 of Michael Odell. So he had contact there with the Porsche as well and just couldn't stop.
I don't understand that one at all. I don't know if that was a hardware failure. I don't know what on earth that was. I'm going to shut my mouth, Brad.
Yeah, no, I kind of have questions about that too. So this was Zach Nerney. So this was the initial moment we saw. And then behind, that's his second spin. And then there is with the 56. I want to try to get one more angle of this. We're going to go on board with the 56 because I want to just see sort of what happened and what caused that. Because I don't know. This is a weird one. So let's get on board here. We're going to get into the driver's seat. And so this is where we're at now. We're going to send this one through. And then right here, there's contact. I'm going to slow-mo this. So you can see he's trying to turn it right. And he's just, he's in the grass at this point. And it seems like there was just nothing he could do. And, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, just a very unfortunate place to make contact and get the car kind of kicked out sideways, because once it starts sliding, especially in the grass, you're not going to get it slowed down. You're not going to get it rolled up at all. And that was that incident there. I think just coming in a little bit hot with the Porsche. That was Shea
Yep.
getting a little bit sideways again. So that was a classic instance of maybe just a little bit too much beans. And right here as well, getting on the throttle, wheel spin, around they go.
Matt Toppin coming through, but he is able to, again, get back on track. We caught that right before we went to replay, and we'll come back now to live pictures, because one thing I noticed with it being live, it's cloudy.
Yeah, it is getting pretty cloudy. Track temp's going to go down. Grip levels are going to go up, and boy, I don't know. I don't know if these guys need the grip levels to go up. They're being aggressive enough as it is. They're going to get even more brave if the cars have a little bit more grip. So riding on board now with Bob Carey. He is currently rocking the 5th position, trailing P4 right ahead of him. Dwight Hibbs in that number 4. I feel like every time we go to Bob Carey, he's always with Hibbs. I think they might have the cars connected at the tow hooks, but like for the last 4 weeks, they've not been able to get away from each other.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I feel like whenever you're in a race like this, when you're in these sort of endurance race setups, you kind of just get used to it, and you end up getting around the people you're around, and you're just sort of there. Like, I don't know how else to explain it except for you get around the guys you're around, and it gets very hard to stay away from them, and you find week after week getting around the same drivers, especially because remember here in Elbows Out, the GTP category is not just a category that you can show up in and run. This is a category that you have to qualify into. You can't just kind of show up and say, I'm going to run GTPs. It's a license that is handed out to the best of the best, basically. You have to go through the class system of Elbows Out. You go through AM, then you go through GT3 Pro, and then if you're good in GT3 Pro, you can go into GTP, but you can't just show up and say, I'm a GTP driver now, give me the GTP license, and expect admin to say, okay, yeah, no, we're going to do that. This is one that you have to be there. So you tend to see these guys really be quick and really be running with each other, and they will do that week and week again. Current battle on your screen is going to be Bob Carey battling it out with Matt Toppin behind as they continue through. Watch this battle come down, and can that yellow caddy, that yellow submarine, find its way through? Well, down the hill they're going to go into turn 1. Side by side they're going to go, and well, it looks like at the moment things are going to stay where they're at.
Yeah, for the moment at least, but boy, he is really closing in, looking to the inside now. He's going to dive it in deep, get to the left rear quarter panel, and I think he's going to be side by side as they go into the corner. Getting cloudy enough that some of the headlights are turning on, in fact, as they are going to swap positions. It looks like the overtake is going to be complete, but not without challenge, because boy, oh boy, right back on the bumper. And another car not far ahead either. It's going to be a 3-way battle if they keep this up. Sometimes 2 drivers battling tend to slow each other down, but I think in this case, they're pushing each other really hard to the point where they might actually be speeding each other up, just pushing the car to the limit, using up those tires, because look at the rate they have gained on that car ahead. I cannot believe how quickly Bob Carey, Matt Toppin, just reeling in P3.
Yeah, they are not playing around. And again, this is something that you just sort of see happen as the race continues, and that gap continuing to come down and close, and will continue to come down and close even more. And let's go ahead and just make it a 3-way battle. Let's introduce Dwight Hibbs into the mix here as we come through. I mean, bring that around, and well, into the inside is going to go Matt Toppin, and it looks like he is going to get the pass done here in GTE. So now we have Dwight Hibbs getting the pass done on, or Matt Toppin getting the pass on Dwight Hibbs. Bob Carey shouldn't be far behind. I do want to check in here on this GT3 Pro battle, Jean McClure and the good battle of Paul Nye Sr. Or Paul Sr. Nye, Paul Nye the donut guy. How do you want to know him? Well, tell you what, there's plenty of options. So they are battling it out right now for first in class as they go through. And give us some feedback, ladies and gentlemen, in YouTube chat about the overlays. We're trying a couple of different styles here with this league. Of course, very unique to what we traditionally cover on the channel. So we're trying a couple of different things here throughout the next week or so. And we've been looking for feedback. So if you got feedback, good, bad, or otherwise, feel free to throw it in the comments, and we'll always read it. We'll definitely, you'll know we read it, but we'll see what happens from there. Jean McLuhan and Paul Nye Sr. continuing to battle out as they go for P1, and it looks like Paul Nye settling in here.
Yeah, Paul Nye, definitely a consistent driver. And he's also a very patient driver, is one thing I've noticed throughout the course of the season. He strikes when he needs to. You know, last week, because of those 2 spins early in the race, he was in attack mode all day long. But when he can get away with riding and just, slipping in a few comfortable laps here and there, he will. He doesn't really feel the need to go up there and really get too aggressive too early. He knows that the race isn't over until the checkered flag, so he might just fall in line. He might just ride. Now, if he finds that his pace is substantially faster than the car ahead, maybe he makes the move. But he's not going to push himself to do it. He's not going to take a huge risk until he has to. And that's why he's got wins this season. That's why he's constantly on the podium. He's a thinking driver. And battling for the lead right now, no surprise to see. Antonio Costa still leading the way. Aiden Garcia, P2. Benjamin Bechtel is going to be 3rd for GTP. And then you got that battle we were talking about, Matt Toppin, Dwight Hibbs, Bob Carey, 3, 4, and 5, pretty much under a blanket as they've been navigating a little bit of traffic and riding on board with our leader. He also is dealing with a little bit of traffic, but he caught him in a good place right on the straightaway. That's where you want to do it, Brad. You got all the lanes in the world, all the time in the world to make the move, and you get a good line into the corner. That is the ideal situation. Sometimes you catch up to cars like this, though. You're in the S's. You're in a complicated section. You don't want to make an aggressive move here and get yourself unsettled. But again, right on the straightaway, he's carving through this traffic, doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job there to send things through and around. So absolutely loving watching our race leader, Antonio Costa, as the sun has finally shone back on the Brazilian countryside coming through. As we go back here, Paul Nye Sr. again still trying to battle it out with the GT3 leader of Jean McLuhan. That gap still coming down considerably as they continue to battle. And all of these drivers have kind of hit a point where they're really just sort of trying to survive. I think survival, the name of the game. Fuel load strategy. This is one that we got from our resident Larry Mack behind the scenes. I won't share who Larry Mack is, but just know we call him Larry McReynolds. And if you're a NASCAR fan, you know who that is. If you're not, we'll just call him the stats guy. Coming through, he's our Larry Mack. He's our, who is it in Formula One? I can't even think of it right now. Sean Collins, there it is, going through. So GTPs, in theory, can pit anytime after lap 4. And I'll tell you right now, we're on lap 10. We're well in that window. And GT3s, in theory, will pit lap 20, which is half race distance. So we're 15 minutes in. We've done 10 laps. So they'll pit lap 20-ish. And they can go the entire race on a full tank of fuel. So they sort of just pit when they want, which is really nice for them, that they just sort of choose what they do when they do it. And I got to ask, as we see Paul Nye finally going around the inside there of Jean McLuhan, trying to get the pass done, going around, and it looks like we'll go outside here. This is unconventional, but still trying to get that settled in. Hold it side by side there with the 992. And Paul Nye, the donut guy, is definitely going to be Paul Nye, the battle guy, as a little bit of contact comes through down into the chicane and is going to hold on. And there it is. Paul Nye now up into the lead. He saw the opportunity and he took it.
Yeah, he really waited to make that move. He kind of rode behind him for a couple laps, and I think he just realized, as I said, his pace was a little bit too fast to comfortably ride behind. And there's 2 reasons you'd want to make a move when you're that much faster rather than just being patient. Number one, if your car is set up to run at full pace and you're comfortable running at full pace, sometimes it actually feels a little uncomfortable to slow yourself down, to whoa it up and match somebody else's pace, match their lines. You want to be at your pace where you're comfortable. Sometimes you got to make that pass. The second reason is when they come down pit road, he doesn't want to be right behind somebody, and he certainly doesn't want to waste any time behind somebody that he could spend driving off into the distance and giving himself a buffer should something happen on pit road to cost him some time. He wants to put money in the bank, wants to put time on the clock that he can afford to lose. And, risk versus reward, he decided, I think if I make this move, it's going to be beneficial. But I think he could have made it a little bit sooner, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, but he was able to find it, get the pass done eventually, and now he's going to go into the rhythm of just trying to extend that gap between him and Jean McLuhan if he can here. We'll keep an eye on that battle for first there in GT3 as it sits, because that's going to be an interesting one all the way up and down this race. Let's go check in on a driver we haven't checked in on, Brian Metterly, who is currently running and is currently trying to challenge the car ahead, and P5 of Chris Stewart. And that is the battle on your screen. And of course, they have one Mr. Aiden Garcia in the 799 trying to come through as well, which always creates a challenge, whether you're the GTP or the GT3 car as you go through. You want to give the GTPs room to get past. You don't want to kind of be in their way, but at the same time, you're battling for position. You don't want to give up any time that doesn't need to be given up, so you're going to keep battling it out as much as you can.
Absolutely, and they are going to continue to do so. 0.7 of a second going to be the difference between Metterly and Stewart. 15 and the 46 respectively down the straightaway. Gap extends just a little bit. Some front end damage, I believe, to Metterly. Maybe I'm seeing things, but it looks like that hood might be a little bit crinkled. Not a track where, no, maybe I'm seeing things.
No, you're seeing
it's hard
it.
to tell with the paint scheme.
It's crinkled. You are seeing that right.
So yeah, sometimes I'm blind, sometimes I can actually see things, but this is a track where luckily I don't think the aero damage is going to impact him too much, but I mean, it's still going to impact him some, and so he's got to keep it in mind, and he may even take the time to get it fixed on pit road as long as his radiator isn't damaged, which I would hope that it's not. But here comes some GTPs working their way through. They're going to be dealing with this for the next 41 minutes as well. That was Antonio Acosta working his way through. Garcia won't be far behind, 14 seconds. Following along now with Christian and Nathan. Nathan Hemperly, as a driver that had a few really good races to start out the season, and he's had some, if I recall, maybe not the best races as of late. A little bit of bad luck. See if he can't turn that around tonight. We know he's got the talent. We'll see what happens.
I can tell you right now, definitely not having a good time here as we go to a replay. This was just briefly before with Hemperly. This is into turn one, and just sort of missed it there and just had to run very wide into turn one. This is what caught my eyeball with Hemperly, because it was a very slow rejoin here. He just completely has to stop for a minute as he's trying to avoid causing any issues with traffic. So, I mean, he stops, he holds on there, and then he's back underway.
It looked to me like something was going on outside of the sim. Maybe he had to step away for just a very brief second. Maybe there was a distraction. It didn't look like, oh man, I just missed the corner. That looked like I may have to step away. I'm going to pull off the track. And then he kind of slowly rejoined after parking for a second. So hopefully everything's all right with Hemperly. Great comedic timing, by the way, Brad, to show that after what I said. But
you're welcome.
Yeah, he's back on track. We'll see what he's got under his sleeve. Finish the night out, make a bit of a recovery. These two, it's always these two. Bob Carey, Dwight Hibbs, still connected at the bumper, as they probably will be for another 40 minutes.
Again, if I'm ever looking for action here and I need guaranteed action, it's these two. I need to know if they're like best friends in real life, or, if they know each other in real life. I'll have to double check our little behind the scenes info sheet and make sure, see if these guys just know each other in real life and are best friends and just sort of having some fun, or kind of where they're at with things as they go through. Around 20 minutes have already passed in this race, so let's kind of get an idea of where things stand. These things have been pretty interesting on the night. So let's pull up the positions gain counter here as Dwight Hibbs flashing the lights at the 315 or the 515 of Chris Stewart going by and trying just to get around and through there. So very good job to be had there, and everybody clears just fine, and Dwight Hibbs and Bob Carey can go across their battle. So looking at this leaderboard on the left-hand side, Antonio Costa, Aiden Garcia, right where we left them, starting P1 and P2, but 15 seconds the gap. Ben Bechtel up into third, Matt Toppin down into fourth. Fifth place, Dwight Hibbs up one, Bob Carey up one, and Zach Nerney already out of the race, was out of the race lap one. Not sure what happened there to Zachary Nerney. We'll have to check with him and see is something has happened here with Martin Merkva running slow. That is actually Chris Stewart, who has ran off and gone extremely slow, right as I'm trying to, run into a segment of who's where in positions. Well, Chris Stewart says, I want screen time, guys. Hold on. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, get back into it. They will. We'll take a look at the PTR TV instant replay. See exactly what transpired. Try to break it down a little bit, get a better idea as we cue it up.
Would love to get this replay up, but it's going to take an extra split second. Here's your replay.
Down the straightaway. He's going to duck out of line a little bit. He's thinking about it once, twice, and then I think he got on the bumper maybe just a little bit, and he felt that he was at fault, so he did slow down a bit there, trying to wait for the other driver to recover. You'll see that occasionally. Better angle of it. Yeah, he drove in really deep, got into the bumper, and then I like this right here. Sportsman-like move. Pulls off of the racing circuit and waits for the other driver to recover. That right there is one of the most respectful things I have seen in weeks. Absolutely commend that. That is beautiful.
I always love seeing drivers do that, and that's something that Elbows Out tends to be very good about. They kind of self-police themselves, if that makes sense. So the drivers are very quick to understand when they're at fault. Now, granted, let's be clear. There are charged situations where the drivers will argue who's at fault for what. But there are times where it's clear as day. I mean, clear as crystal clear water out of a water bottle who is at fault. And when the driver knows there is no denying it, there's no question under the sun of who did what, they are quick to do that, pull off, and just kind of say, you know what, yeah, that's on me. And they will just let it go, let it be, and very clearly what Chris Stewart did there. And I appreciate that. I have always been appreciative of that. So that is a great thing to see happen there. Check it back in here on our race, and we'll leave overall up for a minute. We'll leave the top 15 kind of settled in there because that gives you a good mix of things. So again, it's still Antonio Costa up 16 seconds and just running away with this thing.
He was driving away with it. And going back to waiting for the driver that you felt you had taken out or spun out, there is the flip side of it too. So I race RC cars, and there are times where the general conduct, the general courtesy is when you wreck somebody, you wait for their car to get turn marshaled and put back on the track if you flipped them over or set them over the wall or whatever. But there are times where I'll be coming up to lap somebody and they'll get into me and they'll wreck me and then they'll wait for me, and I'm thinking, no, just go. I don't want to be near your car again. You're just gonna do it again. So there is the flip side of that. Luckily, in this instance, it did not happen twice. They were able to get around each other cleanly, and the incident has not reoccurred. But, a little bit loose there is that 923 machine. Callan Tobin, big loose. Something might be wrong with that car, Brad. It does not look right going through these corners.
I think it's the Mustang just trying to take a turn, if I have to be honest. I hate to be that guy and say that, but the Mustang is great at power tracks, and Interlagos, unfortunately, if you're not going down the main straight, isn't what I'd really call a power track. So,
well, what I'm wondering though, Brad, is he took a hit square to the rear bumper. Is that diffuser banged up, and does he not have any rear grip because that diffuser's not working right?
That actually is a good point, and you are probably right on that one. I love to make a Mustang joke when I can make a Mustang joke. It's the nature of things. But, he did take a big hit to that rear bumper, so I definitely think there could be some aero damage there. We'll see if he's able to close things back up, but as of right now, gaps opened up to over a second, and will continue to open up. Dwight Hibbs, Bob Carey, checking back in. These two have been stuck like glue. There's a Sugarland song reference if you've never heard one. And then, they're inseparable at this point. I don't think I could take a crowbar and get these two around, and they're absolutely holding position. Steady as she goes and not changing places for anything.
No, not yet, at least. But hey, at least they've got race buddies. They're never going to be alone. It would seem these two. They're always going to be racing with somebody. And at the end of the day, that is what makes racing fun, right? If it wasn't about racing around somebody else and having that competition and the racecraft of it, you'd just be out here turning hot laps by yourself. So I actually kind of like it, and it is a bit of a gift when there's somebody in the field that is so similarly paced to you that, like, no matter where you go or what you're doing, you've always got somebody you can reliably have some fun battling it out with. It is, like you said, and it even goes for real life in the RC car world, there's always that one guy that you just seem to be the same pace as. And as long as you're in the same race, you're going to find each other. You're going to have some fun. Now, that was a bit of a scary overtake. Aiden Garcia getting around a little bit of lap traffic there. The GT3 had to duck way out of line in a very narrow part of the track. Heads up driving by the GT3, and they did a good job keeping it under control, because if I had to move that quick, Brad, I think I'd break the rear end around and probably be in the grandstands.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when I see drivers do that and make those moves. It's always, great to see them come through. Pit stops. I knew we were hitting halftime, so I went ahead and turned on the pit stop notifications. And what do you know? The drivers love to just tell me that sometimes in the booth, I tend to have a stroke of genius here. And Odell, first car into the pits here. Michael Odell will start his pit stop cycle and will come in here early on. 21-second pit stop time for Michael Odell, as we see Aiden Garcia going around the number 8 of Kyle O'Grady, working his way around for the second time through this GT3 traffic. And you can see the gap there between him and Ben Bechtel continuing to move around and continuing to open up. So as we watch that go through, so pit stop time, 20-ish seconds stopped for GT3s. Of course, remember, an elbows out, 4-tire pit stop is mandatory. You have to take 4 tires, and it's iffy-ish if they're going to take fuel. They'll take enough to get to the end, but not more than they need. So you'll see the drivers all have kind of a mixed bag on what fuel they do, what they do, but about 40 seconds in the lane, 20 seconds stationary. Interlagos, one of the shorter pit stops, I'd say, coming through. So it's always good to kind of get a gauge of how things are going to look as, again, checking back in. Second verse, same as the first.
Yep, they are just clicking off laps here, picking up speed into this right-hander. On the binders, down to 47 miles an hour, and then right back up. And like you said, talking about the pit stops, they are coming up very shortly. And as our notes said, drivers could have pit on lap 4 in the GT3s and made it to the end, so just barely short on fuel. Now, we do have some GTPs and some GT3s coming down pit road here at the halfway mark of the race. 30 minutes in, 30 minutes remaining. Jack stands do go up, so I would imagine tires are on the table today, Brad, and that is interesting because we don't always see drivers take tires. I would say it's more common for them to take tires than not in this league, but race leader had such a big advantage coming in, or he's still on the track. He could take tires if he wants to. Matt Toppin, different situation. He's trying to run down the leader. Maybe he's hoping those fresh good. Do they use Goodyears? I almost said Goodyears. I don't even know what they use in this series.
I think it's it's based on IMSA, so it should be Michelin, I believe. Now,
Michelin.
Wow,
okay.
Why am I second guessing? No, it is Michelin.
Yeah, you're the road course guy.
Yeah, it's Michelin's. Welcome to road course.
I think you're right. Yeah. So those 4 fresh Michelins, hopefully going to help him run down the leader, but we'll see.
Can y'all tell that it's been a long week for everyone at PTR TV? Allergies, if you watched yesterday with Area iRacing, Corey, of course, is out enjoying a family vacation, but that wasn't before a fun little head cold decided to hit his family right off the bat. So, Corey, if you're watching this for some reason and you're supposed to be on vacation and not thinking about work and not thinking about commentary, hope you're having a good vacation. Hope your flight was fun, and I hope you and the fam are having a great time. But yeah, just one thing after another here at PTR TV, but the thing that stays consistent is great racing action. Matt Toppin pitting early there for GTPs. I don't see anyone else coming in this time by as they go through. So if we watch that pit-in camera as more cars go through, and the field, of course, spread out, so lots of different things going around, it's deceiving because to get the best speed out of turn 14 and turn 15, you have to dive into that white line like it's pit entry there on the right-hand side, but you don't actually enter. So there goes Paul Nye. That is a pit entry as you see it, but it's very tricky because you're slowing down for that, but then you have cars going by that are staying full speed because they're going down the main straight.
Yeah, that is a bit of a tricky entrance. Now, Paul Nye did not have as big of a lead as I expected him to have coming in. Jean McClellan was able to get right ahead of him as he pulled in, only a couple seconds back at the time, now taking the division lead. So we'll see. It's a good stop. 21 seconds in the box is pretty par for the course. And we will see pit lane time, 36.4. Also not too bad. Cutting it really tight on the exit, apexing the corners out of pit road, wasting not a second of time. I'd say that was a pretty dang good stop for Paul Nye, the donut guy.
I would agree with you completely there as he comes through, comes out. Great run from him, and he'll be in a good position to get things going and continue his charge for another win on the books this week. Checking back in with our race leader, Antonio Costa. I'll let you look at the gap, 19.1, and continuing to grow with every lap. This is the power when you are the GTP leader, is you kind of get out in clean air, and even when things start mixing up, you get into that position, and you can sort of just run away with it and not think twice and just really enjoy and really have a good time. So really enjoying seeing what he's doing here and how he's running. About half of our 23-car field has pit. 23 cars in, and, well, 23 cars still running. It was a 24-car field. Of course, Zachary Nerney out right at the start of the race, unfortunately due to some lap 1 incidents, and he will try to recover and come back next week. No return of the Mac this week, by the way. I don't know if you caught that one at the top of the broadcast. No return of the Mac this week. Of course, Eric Mack, a very fast driver, it looks like not participating in this week's festivities, and we hope to see him back next week.
Yeah, hopefully he is back behind the wheel. He always puts on a show for us. He never makes it boring. It is always something with Eric Mack, whether he's fighting for the lead and running away with it, or involved in just the craziest incidents you've ever seen. There's no in between. He's either dominating or he's just involved in some sort of chaos somewhere on the track. So we hope to see him back. In the meantime, hopefully he is enjoying his vacation away from the wheel, wherever he may be. Following along with Brian Metterly, now Benjamin Bechtel, currently sitting at third in GTPs. Benjamin involved in, I believe, not one but 2 separate incidents last week, and so far keeping the nose clean this week. Sometimes that's what you need, Brad. You need a good, clean race. You don't even need to go out there and win it. You don't need to dominate. You don't need to run the fastest lap. You just need a clean race where you bring it home in a decent position to get that momentum built back up, build the confidence back up. And so far, that's what Benjamin's got.
Yeah, here's the thing with Ben Bechtel. As Ben Bechtel dives into the pits right as I was going to take an onboard lap with him. Thank you, Ben. Much appreciated, Ben, and I won't hold it against you, I promise. That gorgeous gold flake and purple caddy always tends to be in the best of positions or the worst of positions at the same time. He's a very fast driver, but Lady Luck does not look kindly to that 28. So we'll have to keep eyes on that as it goes. Our overall leader in GT3 AM, Ondera, now into the pits, coming through, and now another GTP in. Dwight Hibbs, Bob Carey is in, and so now we've gotten a majority of our GTPs to pit. Only ones that are left is, well, Costa and Garcia, our top 2 there, but you can see pit stops in very quickly, and let's see how they play out as everything goes. Is everybody's just running things through, trying to find time, trying to do what they can here. Final 3 rounds of the season here will be coming up, Dirt, just to kind of shuffle things around for a second while pit stops are coming through. Final 3 rounds will be the next 3 weeks, as Ondera is struggling to get out of the pit lane, but does so almost okay. And now we'll have to settle in on fresh tires. Indy Road Course is next week on the 22nd of May. The 29th of May, is Zandvoort. If you know me, you know I am, of course, a Dutch fan at heart, a Netherlands fan, so expect me to enjoy that one a lot. And then 90 minutes around the Nürburgring will be the final race of the season on June 5th. That will be the 24-hour layout with, it says rain unlikely, but that doesn't mean rain is impossible.
Well, I do believe the weather is predetermined in this league, so I don't think it's going to rain. But I could be wrong on that. Callan Tobin coming in, hopefully maybe getting the handling sorted out on that car. Goes up on the jack stand. Let's take a look at the pit stop time. See if he's in there a little bit longer than the other GT3s, if he's getting that diffuser maybe fixed up a bit. Again, he took a wallop on that rear bumper. It's 14 seconds in the box, 15, 16. So 21 seconds in the box is about the standard. He has not taken any damage repair, Brad. He said, screw it, we're going to get out there, we're going to do it live, and away he goes.
Doing it live is always an option there. As you see him exiting out of the pits, he will drop behind Martin Merkva. He will drop behind Christopher Ondera. Of course, Christopher Ondera in the GT3 AM class. So they will keep things moving and grooving, and there he is coming out of the pits now as he goes. Race leader Antonio Costa up by 22 seconds, continuing to just push that car around and take things through. And I tell you what, it looks like a majority of our pit stops have cycled, but there's still a lot of drivers that haven't hit yet. So I'm going to pull up the stints here on the side of the timing tower, and I'm going to switch the timing tower around here for just a second. And we're going to look at who has pit, who hasn't, because it's kind of impressive to me if you look at some of these overall. So Antonio Costa hasn't pit, Aiden Garcia hasn't pit, Jean McLuhan hasn't pit, Tyler Stenick has not pit, Brian Medderly has not pit, and as I say that, Brian Medderly, of course, stops in his box. Parker Chiapuzzo has not pit, Kyle O'Grady has not pit, Seth Vosselman has not pit, and there's one more driver, Nathan Hemperly, that is showing on my side is not pitting. So there's still some drivers to pit that haven't pit yet with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, they're taking the overcut, taking the long run strategy, and we've seen that work out a time or two in this league. Nothing wrong with it. Although we do see, as the pit graphic pops up, Medderly, Chiapuzzo, and O'Grady, Vosselman, all these drivers coming in now, and that's going to leave only really a handful remaining to come down pit road. Everything's sort of shaking out. The battle for the GTP lead is not much of a battle whatsoever, but these GT3s, Tyler Stenick, Jean McLaughlin, still not coming down pit road. Paul Nye is 29 seconds back. Pit road time overall going to be about 31, 32 seconds, so he should cycle out to the lead, theoretically, but we'll see. It does seem, I've noticed, Brad, Tyler Stenick loves this overtake long run strategy. He's done it the last few weeks, and generally the last few times he's done it because he started towards the back. He's just trying something different. He had pretty good track position today, and he's still taking the overcut.
Yeah, I mean, if it's what works, I mean, what's that? Wow, what's that saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, that's kind of the mantra that he's running on right now, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do what you know, and if it works, it works. Another lap around for our overall leader to hold on to his position as he goes. So he will take things around here and continue to push things through. 19 minutes, 40 seconds left to go here in this race. I'm going to ask the $1 million question here. GT3 or GTP? Pick a class here, Andre.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the GT3s. They seem to be having a little bit more battles back in the field, and the GTPs, for right now, they're in their own little world.
And we'll pull up the pros here and the AMs as they go through. So you've got the 10 GT3 pros and you've got 7 GT3 AMs battling. Again, typically that number's inverse, and you've got a bigger AM field than a pro field. So interesting to see how that switched through. You see how things are spread out, and Jean McLuhan now in the pits is right as I cut away the camera. There is a spin.
Yeah, we seem to do that a lot, catch a spin just out of frame, but this is going to be the bit of a story here. McLawn and Stanek going to be in their stalls. We'll see where Paul Nye cycles out in relation to them. Again, theoretically, whoa, my goodness, McLawn, 14 seconds in the box. That is incredibly quick. Is it going to be enough to keep him ahead of Paul Nye? I think it may be.
So here's Paul coming through turn 3, and there's McLuhan.
Wow. So did McLuhan.
Did he take?
I was saying McLawn. It might be McLuhan. Did he take 2?
Did he take no fuel at all? I know tires are required by the league rules, but did he take no fuel at all? That's the only thing I can think that could be different. I don't know how you get a 14-second pit stop, because in theory, everyone's pit stop should be identical times.
In theory, I didn't know tires were mandated by the league. That would have been pertinent information. But either way, the longer you go, Brad, the less fuel you need to make it to the end. So realistically, he could have calculated this out and said, look, I need exactly this much fuel. If I make it 20 minutes in the race or more, I can take this much fuel, make this many laps remaining. That could be the case. And if it is, what a play. And that's why the overcut can be so powerful. You see this in the NASCAR world. That's the reason that a lot of these super speedway races have kind of turned into fuel-saving races, because they know that the less fuel they need to take, the quicker their stop is going to be. And they'll gain more time in the pits than they would trying to go all out on the track. So that is an interesting strategy play. Probably the biggest strategy play I've seen in weeks in this league. And if it gets McLuhan the lead and the win by extension, that is going to be huge.
That is massive. Yeah, I wish we had a way in the back end to tell if he truly took those tires. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, is that McLuhan didn't. But I wouldn't think that would happen, because that's always covered pre-race. So I don't know. Somebody can give me some behind-the-scenes info. My DMs are always open for that, and I love getting a little bit of the Sean Collin, Larry Mack behind-the-scenes information as we go. Benjamin Bechtel will be getting the pass-through. I apologize to Benjamin. I always tend to, for some reason, shorten Benjamin's name to Ben, and it is Benjamin. So, but he's now earned the nickname Benjamin Ben Bechtel here on the channel. So if you hear us call Ben Bechtel, just know it's the nickname. His proper name is Benjamin, as he is coming through trying to work his way around. 15 minutes left to go. Everybody has officially pit, so your mix-up of how you see them on the leaderboard is how they are. So that is officially where everyone stands here on the night. But with that being said, 15 minutes left to go. Tell you what, let's take in the beautiful sounds of a McLaren 720S. And I am going to pick the McLaren of Martin Merkfa to listen to here. So let's hop on board with the 720S. We're going to do some temporarily loud engines here at PTR TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll bring you back in to finish out this race. We'll be back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed some temporarily loud engines brought to you here on PTR TV by Whiplash SimCams. Big thank you to Whiplash SimCams for providing all of the beautiful cameras that you are seeing, both on board and around the track, to make this production possible. Matt Toppin, you saw a little bit of a wiggle there from him. Looks like he's had another moment while we were away with those loud engines, and, well, what do you know? It's a turn 1 moment, so we'll go through. Let's get the replay of this one. This is into turn 1 here, Andre, and, well, looks like just the rear tires became the front tires and overcooked it a bit.
Yeah, that is the second time he's actually overcooked it, which is interesting. He's struggling with the throttle control, it seems, because it's kind of the same exact incident we saw him have earlier in the night. Opposite end of the racetrack, this is turn 1. It was one of the later turns earlier, but you can see he has no issues getting into the corner on the brakes, and then through this second corner. Well, this is live scenes. He's back to live, but yeah, it was just kind of the same issue as before, Brad. He got on the throttle, it went around. I don't know if there's something going on with his pedals or maybe some gearing settings for this car, but either way, he's been struggling a little bit. Still on the podium, though. So anytime you're on the podium after having a couple incidents, you can't really complain too much.
Yeah, but Ben Bechtel isn't far behind, so there's Ben Bechtel, and I mean, if we look at the last 3 laps and compare it for these two here, we'll do that this way. We compare these two. I mean, Ben Bechtel to Matt Toppin. Matt Toppin, 10.5 seconds slower, so he had a good gap there, but now Ben Bechtel will be right in the clutches to try to get that pass done while he can and do what he can do. So we'll keep an eye on that battle as it develops towards the end. Bob Carey, Dwight Hibbs, still a half second separating these two right here, and we'll continue to separate these two by about half a second. At some point, Bob Carey is going to go for a dive, and when Bob Carey goes for that dive, Dwight Hibbs is going to be very surprised, because I think at this point, if you're Dwight Hibbs, you're probably just thinking, he's not going to try to pass me. We're okay to cruise for a little bit.
Oh, 100%. But, you see that clock ticking down, and you know that the aggression levels will go up. You're going to have to get a little bit defensive, take some careful lines into the corner, block that bottom lane. Of course, don't throw any actual blocks. That is against league rules. But, keep that bottom lane covered and, make them go around you on the difficult lane if they're going to do it at all.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to watch here. As you can see, Bob Carey looking a little bit different of a line here, trying to find some sort of a move. And now down into turn 1, not able to get the pass done, has to hold on to the position he's in and continue through. Michael Odell here is putting in some pressure, trying to get past Martin Merkva. This is the battle for P6 in GT3 Pro. They come down through the infield section and keeping the pressure up here through. Actually, this is turn 13, 14, 15 on the track. This is the end of the lap as they come through. So let's see what this Audi can do against a McLaren. Well, he's going to be looking for it. And, of course, you see behind them Callan Tobin and the Mustang, who is still trying to find some more time, gain some time. So you got a 3-car battle showing up really quick here that is going to continue just to put some pressure in and going to look for something somewhere. Let's see what they can do there between Merkva, Odell, and Tobin.
Yeah, 3 cars under a blanket. Less than a second separating them, so down into the corner. This is the fight for 7, 8, and 9, I do believe. And remember, that car in the middle of the sandwich, Michael Odell, he was one of the drivers that had that unfortunate incident at the start of the race, lap 1. Made a little bit of contact, car got sent into the grass, could not get slowed down, and made a lot of contact. Got a few cars caught up in the bowling alley. And that's what got him so far back in the running order. He's not really been able to recover, but nonetheless, he's got cars in sight. He could salvage a point or two if he can get around them before this thing is said and done. But it has been at least a steady drive. He's kept his nose out of trouble since that lap 1 incident. You never like to start a race off like that, but if you can back off, regroup, get your head together, you can salvage it, which is what he's doing.
Yeah, do what you can here as we watch them come through. Just, again, this battle for 6th in GT3 Pro, just following along here and continuing to push. Top 6 result would be great for any of these drivers on the night. 7 minutes left to go here in Elbows Out Racing League in this round number 9 of the 12-round season. And, of course, going into next week, the championship becomes all important, and we'll be covering all of that and getting things brought to you in very good detail starting next week as we go here. Come around 6 minutes, 49 seconds left to go. I'm showing about 5 laps left to go for this guy right here. This leader, Antonio Costa. And guess what? You want to see the gap behind Antonio Costa? 24.8 seconds between Costa and Garcia. 25 seconds, actually, between Costa and Garcia across a 60-minute race. That is massive.
Yeah, that is a pretty large gap. And we've seen that a few times this season with the GTPs. It seems that with these GTPs, it's not always the same driver getting out to a massive lead, but sometimes the track just really clicks for one of these guys, and when it does, away they go. It is 60 minutes of pure racing, no pacing, no safety car, no cautions. So if you got the pace and you keep it the whole race, there is going to be some separation. Nathan Hemperly, adding to the misfortunes of the night, had that incident earlier where he pulled off the track. It looked somewhat intentional there the first time. Let's take a look at a replay here, see if it looks to be on purpose this time or if it was just a little bit of an overcook. Either way, not Hemperly's night. Down the straightaway, he's got some GTPs behind, staying on the outside.
Oh, no, Bob Carey,
They're going to go 3 wide, and Bob Carey just gave him the shunt. And from there, I think he just lost the will of the race. He didn't try to get back on the track.
So let's watch here from one more angle. So this is going to be on board with Bob Carey. So this is Bob Carey, trying to send it through and just... It's almost the lightest of taps, but I think... I agree with you there, Andre. I think it's just the will to race was gone at that point. As we come back to live
realistically,
pictures.
he could have got back on pretty quick, but yeah, these live pictures here, Bob Carey, I believe, going a lap down to our race leader. Costa going to put them down one more and just absolutely putting a whooping on the field so far. But either way, it's been a fun battle, and he is going to have to deal with maybe another 3-wide situation. GTP on the outside, he's going to slip to the inside, and then immediately back to the outside. He's having to make choices here. When a GTP is lapping other GTPs, Brad, that is dominance you don't see very often.
Yeah, that is what I call amazing, is what I call it, because it's, stuff like that is, you don't see it often, but when it happens, it's awesome to watch. Battles have popped up all over the field, by the way, with under 4 minutes to go. We've now got Brian Medderly and Chris Stewart here in the GT3 Pro, separated by just a couple tenths. You see there, Medderly in the 46 going very defensive against the 515 into turn 4 and making sure to really hug that. They both run very wide, and Ben Bechtel in the GTP just follows them for sympathy as they go through. Now Bechtel has to kind of cut through, use the superior grip and downforce of the GTP, get past this battle before he becomes a factor, and allow that to run. Another battle that has opened up, Merkfa and Odell just behind this. They've started to battle it out as well. So plenty of things going through, but that Bob Carey, Dwight Hibbs battle got real aggressive. Unfortunately, it did cost Nathan Hemperly his race, and then Bob Carey locked things up really hard and has lost touch there to Dwight Hibbs by over a second. We'll see if he's able to close things up at all.
And we'll have to see. This battle right here, pretty solid. This would be for 4th place. Stewart going to dive down to the inside, and if he can get this 4th place and potentially hold on to it, that would not be a bad recovery. Remember, he pulled off the track earlier after making some contact with another driver. I believe it was Tobin he got into, and he waited for them to recover. So he lost just as much time as the driver he got into, And he's recovered all the way back up to 4th, but it is not without challenge. Look at Metterly down to the curb, doing everything he can to try to get this position back. They are very close in pace. Make no mistake, this was not a one and done, I'm going to pass you and drive away. This was I got the advantage, I won the battle, but the war is not over. Down the straightaway using the slipstream, Metterly once again going to apply a little bit of pressure, press square to intimidate. Right in the mirror, filling it up, diving down to the bottom. He's going to try to take it back.
And he does so.
Nope, not yet. To the inside, Chris Stewart going to keep it side by side. Now he's got it. Finally able to get clear, but again, Stewart's going to have the advantage line there. And a little bit of a wiggle out of Metterly, but he does not lose the pace. I cannot believe this battle for P4. Chris Stewart on the bumper of Metterly, literally pushing him up the hill. Now through this right-hander, he's trying to get side by side to the quarter panel. And he gets there, but he has to lift to get down to that preferred line, apexing on the curb. Oh my goodness, these two, they are not going to sort this out. They're going to continue fighting their way to the checkered. 1 minute left, so it's going to be about a lap for these drivers. I believe it'll be the white flag for them this time. They're going to have to go around once again, bumper to bumper, toe hook to toe hook. Down into turn 1. It looks like finally Brian Metterly able to put a little bit of distance on the car behind, but that slipstream negates it. And driving in deep into the braking zone, Chris Stewart able to really close that gap right back up. A little bit of a wider line through the corner, but that winds up speed for the straightaway. Oh my goodness, this is something, Brad.
This is amazing stuff as our final lap is going here. What should be the final lap, and there's more battles going on because Merkva and Odell behind are battling it out. They're separated by about a 1/10.5 going through. And then Paul Nye and Tyler Stenick are battling it out as well. That Mustang has wound things up, and Paul Nye, the donut guy, might not get to second place when it's all said and done. But as they go through 10 seconds on the clock, let's check in with where our race leader is. This is going to be our final lap, and you see the gap there, 28.5 seconds. So race time 0, final lap will be called. So for Metterly, Stewart, they've got to get around this and then one more here because I don't believe that the race leader is in front of them. I think the race leader is behind them. We'll double check ourselves here and check. So the race leader is now coming through sector 3. So yeah, no, the race leader is just behind them. So they have this lap and one more to make.
Yes, so again, it's hard to tell sometimes with the time-based racing. With multi-class, hard to keep track of where everybody is, but they are going to have to do it all over again. Costa, he could just coast. He could be Antonio Costa because he could just let off the throttle, still win the race. 26 seconds going to be the advantage as he takes the checkered flag. What a display of dominance. I don't know how many GTPs he lapped exactly. I didn't look at the pylon. But he lapped a few of them, and doing that at all is quite the accomplishment in this series, with the races only being an hour long and really only having a few GTPs in the field compared to everything else. What a race it was for him. I believe that is that win number 1 on the season for Costa?
That is win number 1 on the season for Costa. And as things go through, I'm going to queue up a replay really quick because while we were watching our race winner come through and win, we missed something massive here, and I'm going to do a slightly different replay than what I normally would do because I want to be able to show who this is and what's happening here. So we're going to go back because if we go here, so this is a replay for clarity. So this is Chris Stewart, who dropped back a little bit there. So this was Chris Stewart coming through, and I'm not sure what happened, but Chris Stewart having a moment there, registering out, and then Michael Odell also had a moment. It's hard for me to tell really where this started because Chris Stewart was right on the back here battling, and then that gap opened up to over 6 seconds, and I can't tell why the gap opened up so much, but something slowed Chris Stewart down, and nothing's really catching my attention for what it could have been. So, and then Martin Merkva seems like had a moment there post-race potentially. Yeah, I'm not sure, but Chris Stewart, for some reason, that gap in the end opened up to over 6 seconds. I'm going to see if I can find it really quick and tell why that gap opened up so much, because he was, if we go back here, so this was final lap. This was where we cut the camera, and then something just happens and he loses all pace. I don't know. Maybe he ran out of fuel? Maybe he got a low fuel warning? Either way, not a big deal. And then one other thing, too, that I know we missed that has been pointed out to us in YouTube chat is that Dwight Hibbs and Bob Carey decided to bring it to a photo finish to the line here. And I want to see what that gap was between these two as they came down to the line. So let's check this out here as they come down. I mean, this was a ridiculous run for them, and well, it was there, and we just missed it. Let's go back, because check this out. Yeah, there was your finish between Bob Carey and Dwight Hibbs. But either way, great battle for them. And let's
keeping it close to the end. The whole race, Brad, literally 60 minutes. Those two were in each other's mirrors and windshields. That is quite the feat. The entire race, that is something. But we do have the post-race results. To nobody's surprise, Antonio Costa going to take the win by 29.066 seconds over Aiden Garcia. Going to be P2. And then Matt Toppin, he had two major spins, but brings it home on the podium. Benjamin Bechtel not far behind. He nearly clawed his way to that podium. P4. Dwight Hibbs going to be fourth with Bob Carey right on the bumper, P6. Then getting to the GT3s, Jean McLuhan is going to be at P7, although the winner overall in his division, with a strategy call that put him ahead of Paul Nye by a large margin based on taking less fuel, and he's able to get the win, so big play there. Paul Nye, second place in that division. Tyler Stanek going to get third place. Brian Medderly, P4. Chris Stewart, P5 after that hard-fought battle. Martin Merkva, uncharacteristically off pace tonight. We were used to seeing him battle for the lead. He's back there, P6, midfield. Michael Odell had a trouble night tonight, had an incident there. Start of the race, couldn't quite recover, P7. Callan Tobin also had a couple incidents. That's going to take him down to P8. Ethan Murphy, P9. Daniel Pinaro, going to be 10th.
And then GT3 AMs here. Christopher Ondera pulling out the win in GT3 AM with Parker Chiapuzzo in second place, 11 seconds back. Seth Vosselman in third. Kyle O'Grady in fourth. Shea Perkins in fifth. Christian Cardona in sixth. Nathan Hemperly was our one DNF in that category going through. Tell you what do you say we go find some drivers to talk to, see how everyone's feeling? And I think we're going to start with our overall race winner, Antonio Costa. So let's grab Antonio, bring him up, and see how he is doing. Antonio, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brad.
So, is Interlagos just like your track? Is that where we're at this point, that we're determining Interlagos is just kind of really your track and nobody else can have it?
Well, I knew definitely from the mood of the whole server that a lot of people were unfamiliar with this track, and a lot of people just don't own the track, which is why haven't been here in a while, but low turnout. But I've also had a lot of P2, LMP2 experience on Interlagos, so the lines were very similar, and I was just able to grasp it pretty easily.
It was awesome to watch you battle through and, kind of just take off basically from the beginning. I say battle through, but really it was just battling lap traffic. As a GTP, kind of tell me about when you're in this position, you know that you've got a secured race lead there and you're feeling good, the track's settling in, everything's just what you want. How do you approach the traffic? Are you a little more conserved about it, or are you a little more aggressive about it because you have that confidence behind you?
Definitely on this track, especially, I was much more conservative. I was letting, if you see in some of the spots, I was waiting behind some of the cars, just making sure that I had a fair enough lead that I didn't want to ruin their race and I didn't want to ruin mine. So I definitely leaned back a bit.
Well, it was fun to watch, Antonio. And I gotta ask, next week is it's Indianapolis road course. That's one that, I mean, if you say a lot of drivers may not have been comfortable with this one, how many drivers do you think are comfortable with Indy, and what are we expecting next week?
I definitely think it'll be much closer next week, especially because I know some drivers have done the 6 hours there in protos, and it's just much more familiar. So I'm expecting a bit more for next week. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And before we let you go, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Nah, to be honest, nah.
All right, awesome. Antonio, thanks for stopping by. Congrats on the win. And we will see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, Dirt. Or Andre, Dirt. Man, tell you what, nicknames get me every time. I think we should drop in with Christopher Ondera next, the GT3 AM winner here. Had a fun race, and I'll let you speak to him.
What's
Mr.
going on,
Ondera,
guys?
you got a copy?
Yep, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, but you're having a fun night, getting a division win in GT3M, and it was a quiet win, Christopher. You didn't make much noise. It wasn't too much chaos in your windshield or in your mirror. Just kind of did everything right. You were clicking off good laps. You got ahead of the competition. Tell me a little bit about your night. Is this a track that just kind of suits you?
Well, I qualified P3, and so I did lose a lot of positions to the pros, but fact is they're just faster than me. So when they came up, I made it easy for them to take the pass, and it allowed me to maintain my pace without having to fight with them. And I kept watching Parker Chapuzio behind me. He stayed about 12 to 13 seconds, so I felt pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's definitely a comfortable gap. I got to ask you, with you driving a Porsche, obviously every track we go to, some manufacturers, some cars are going to thrive, some aren't. And it seemed like, for the most part, Porsches were actually kind of struggling with handling the night, but yours didn't look like that. You were the standout that just looked really good, really comfortable. How was that car feeling on the track?
Well, to me, I do prefer a higher wing. I always feel more comfortable with a higher wing. So regardless of whether it's the Porsche or the McLaren, those are really the two cars that I typically would drive. The tighter the track, the higher the wing, the better I usually do. So yeah, it's probably just my style of track.
All right. Well, interesting insight there. Higher wing, tighter track, and this is a tight track. Lots of tight corners. Not a very wide open track. Very technical, and you managed to tame it perfectly. Before we let you go, is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, my wonderful wife, Sarah, for allowing me to pursue my passions. Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Well, congratulations on your division win. Thank you for your time. Hopefully, we're talking to you again soon.
Sounds good, guys. See ya.
I always say this, and I will continue to say this, Andre. Thanking the wife is always a smart decision, regardless of who you are, regardless of what you're doing. If you are sim racing, thanking the wife is a great, great decision. I think that's going to be where we wrap this broadcast up here. Great battles all the way through, I have to say. Big shout out to Bob Carey and Dwight Hibbs for putting on an absolute show back there in that GTP category. Photo finish by 1/10 of a second after 60 minutes. Great run from them. A big shout out and congratulations to Antonio Costa for the win. And as we discussed, final 3 rounds are coming up. Things are about to get real exciting real fast here at Elbows Out as we sign off and end out this season. But Andre, any final thoughts before we let this one go into the Brazilian sunset and get ready for next week at Indy?
Yeah, my final thoughts for Indy are good luck. Good luck, everybody behind the wheel. That is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Brad. That is one of the most miserable road courses ever conceived by man. It is just right angles, tight corners, chicanes, and a straightaway that is way longer than it has any business being. It is honestly a bit of a cursed ground. Site of the worst F1 race of all time, site of the worst NASCAR race of all time. I have faith in Elbows Out to put on a good show and overcome the curse, but it's not going to come easy, and the drivers are certainly going to be up to a challenge.
Yeah, but of course, to get to next week, we got to get through the next week and everything coming up on the next week in the channel. That includes the Area Pro Xfinity Series tomorrow, where, again, Corey's on vacation. So it's going to be myself and Hunter Sleppy in the booth. And then Sunday night, Triple Bypass Racing. Monday night, Sim 500. And Tuesday night, Area Truck Series, where Corey will make his comeback because, well, he loves us. So, and then we get to Indy and the action that will unfold. Of course, we're on the goal to 1,700. Make sure you like and subscribe. Big shout out to everyone who's been here. On behalf of Andre, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us on the next one where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night. And